Today, we're going to be talking about exceptional customer service and making people feel really happy that they did business with you and wanting to leave a great review. And whether you own a business or not, I think there's going to be some interesting stuff here today that you're going to want to take note of.
I'm David C. Barnett, and you're tuned in to Small Business and Deal Making, the podcast, YouTube channel, and blog where I talk about buying, selling, financing, and managing small and medium sized businesses while controlling risk. So, if you're looking to take control of your future through buying a business one day, or if you already own a business and you're looking to grow or exit, you've come to the right place. I talk about interesting things, I talk to interesting people, and I answer your questions every week right here. So be sure to hit like and be sure to hit subscribe, and let's get to it. Are you thinking of growing your business or beginning a journey into entrepreneurship? Take a shortcut to success by buying an existing and profitable business the right way. Visit businessbuyeradvantage.com and learn more about my online training, group coaching, and consulting services designed to help you win.
All right. So, in the world of business, if you start looking for help or information about delivering great customer service and you go looking for that kind of content, you're going to get sucked into this world of things from people that worked for Disney, for example, and they're going to be talking about how they created sort of the happy world at Disney World and stuff like that. And there's all kinds of stuff that's been written about retail businesses or restaurants or beauty salons, and like how to give great service and have people leave smiling, feeling that they've gotten great value for their interaction there. Today, though, I want to talk about exceptional customer service and leaving customers feeling happy that they've done business with you for businesses that have sort of a longer, more complex execution and delivery of what it is that they sell. And often this also is paired with a longer and more complex sales cycle and interaction with the customer. And, the longer this interaction is, like, more opportunity there are for things to happen that leave people think, with like a negative thought about what they've experienced. You can have things really dialed in, for example, in a retail experience, and you're going to interact with that customer over a 20-minute period. And the people that are working in that store are doing, executing this superior delivery again and again and again. They're getting really good at it. Whereas if you're doing, home service work, for example, like contracting projects at someone's home, the number of occasions on which someone is going to be doing that very first on-site job talk with the customer, it's going to be fewer and they're going to be less frequent. And so what ends up happening is you end up with issues where things that worked really well at one occasion maybe don't get repeated or translated to other job sites or to other employees, et cetera, et cetera. And you end up with a breakdown in the management of this relationship with the customer. So we're going to be talking about this today. And this video was inspired to a great deal by the conversation I had with Aiden Speiser, who was with 911 Restoration, that came and did a live stream with me a couple weeks ago. We'll put a link to that live stream there. And in that video, he described how he was able to really build up a successful restoration home service business in the LA area by focusing on the homeowner and what the homeowner was going through and taking care of the homeowner and setting expectations with respect to what was going to be happening, and sort of reassuring them that this was all going to be taken care of and they were going to end up with their beautiful home back the way it was. And where he contrasted that with most of his competitors in the industry, who were focused on the execution rather than being focused on the homeowner and what the homeowner was going through. And so it got me thinking about a lot of other different situations that I've been in and what I have tried to do over the years in my business and other businesses that I've owned to try to more astutely formalize these processes to make sure that it's executed the same way every time over and over and over. Even if those instances of repeating the service actions, as we'll call them, are not frequent, and how you can make sure that employees are really delivering and making sure that they understand why these things are so important. So let's talk a little bit about some background here. I've got some notes on the side. Um, why is it that chains or franchises like McDonald's are so successful, right? And I ask this question a lot when I want to talk about small business systems to live groups, where I will ask people to raise their hands if they've ever gone to a new town and they've seen, McDonald's, and then they've seen local Joe's burger joint, whatever that is in that town, right? And I'll say, how many of you have made the decision to go to McDonald's instead of the local Joe's? And a surprising number of hands go stay in the air, right? And why is it? Why do people choose to go with what they know versus what could end up being a better burger? Because if you want to say anything about McDonald's, we can say that they do not make the best hamburgers in the world. However, they make them consistently everywhere, right? And so people actually choose the experience they already know and feel comfortable with over what could be a better experience, but is somewhat unknown, right? And I think that is the whole success formula of franchises is this consistency of experience, the consistency of the taste. Even though people know they're not probably going to get the best hamburger in the world, they already know what it's going to taste like, and there's a market for that. And that is because, what McDonald's in this case has done is they've set the expectation of the public of what it is that they're going to get, and they meet the expectation every time. And when people go looking for a sort of the familiar and they get exactly what they thought they were gonna get, they're going to be happy. And they're gonna say, "Yep, McDonald's delivered again. It's not the world's best hamburger, but it's exactly what I thought it was gonna taste like, and it was made quickly, and I'm happy, and I'm in and out." Right? So people want things to be certain. They want to know what's going on. And when they don't know what's going on, that's when they kind of get anxious and they get worried and they're like, I don't know what's going on. And nobody likes to have the feeling of the uncertainty. So to get back to Iden's story, homeowners were freaked out because they had like damage from a fire or damage from a flood and they didn't really know what was going to happen and people would come and say, okay, well, I'm going to fix this, but the homeowner did not know exactly what was going to happen, and that's what he did differently, is he explained the process. This is what's gonna happen, step 1, step 2, step 3, and this is how long it's gonna take, and this is what it's going to be like, and here's how you're gonna be taken care of, and here's how we're gonna keep you in the loop, right? And that allowed him to be more successful. Now, if you've ever done any kind of learning about marketing, you have probably learned something about a marketing funnel or heard the concept of customer journey. And people will spend a lot of time on this because marketing is seen as being very important because marketing is what brings customers into the organization. To successfully deliver a complex service that could take some degree of time, whether it's a home service or a consulting service or anything like that, what you need to do is expand the concept of a marketing funnel and actually continue it beyond the sale so that you actually encapsulate the entire experience from the time the customer first understands that they might need a product or service, or you go knock on their door if it's sales driven, and you sort of bring them into this marketing funnel. You expose them to concepts, ideas, material, etc. Help them decide that they need to buy your product or service, and then a lot of people just end it. I made a sale, right? What you want to do is you want to continue it right through. Like, what is then the next step after you've made the sale? And how do you guide it all the way through right until the very end when you possibly are going to ask them to leave a customer review? Okay. So, if you're not familiar with marketing funnels, I've got a great video that I released a couple of years ago called "Why Do M&A Advisors Make YouTube Videos?" and we'll put a link to it here, where I break down the marketing funnel of my own business, and you can kind of see how that works. There's also another related video that where I answer a question about a lawyer who asked whether he should offer payment plans, and again, I created a video where we kind of get inside the mind of who the customer is, what it is they're looking for, what the value proposition would be. So that kind of takes care of the marketing stuff. But let's dig deep into what it means to continue that journey beyond the sale into the actual product delivery. So, exceptional customer service. If I were going to ask you, what would you qualify as exceptional customer service? You're probably going to say things like anticipating the person's needs, having quick response times, or personalized interactions. Okay. And so that makes a lot of sense, right? All of those things basically lead to the idea that people want to be informed about what's going to happen next, right? They want to know what's going to happen. So when you make your process of how you deliver your product or service, what is necessary is to empathize with that person. So in Aiden's example, he was empathizing with the homeowner. They're freaked out. They don't know what's going to happen. They've never been through this before. We have been through this before. So we're going to then show them what is going to happen. Maybe we're even going to automate the expectation setting by creating some kind of tool that allows us to show step by step. So, for example, in my own business, when we interact with someone who's going to do hiring us to examine a business for them, for example, we will say to them, these are the steps we're going to go through. And, the timelines are a little bit uncertain because sometimes we have to go back and ask for more information or get questions answered. But if we get all of our questions answered in a really timely fashion, here's our typical turnaround time between each of these steps so that we can create a realistic time frame for what is going to be the deliverable for the final project. Like how long is it going to take before someone hires us before they're going to get the information that they're looking for from the evaluation or the investigation that we're doing into a business. And that allows the consumer, our customer, to make an informed decision, because if they've only got 2 days before they know that they have to, I don't know, submit an LOI, that our process may not be appropriate for them, right? They might be better off just booking like a 40-minute consulting call and getting some top level feedback and advice, and then, making the offer, and then working a little bit more diligently in the due diligence process to see if they have to amend that offer, versus if they know they've got sort of a week and a half of time that they can work with us to really get a good understanding of what sort of offer makes sense for the business at hand. And, that those offers are going to be more informed. So if they cannot then use those offers to come to some kind of agreement with the seller, then they probably just saved a whole bunch of time by not getting into that due diligence process with the seller. But the customer who's hiring us, by understanding the time frames, they now have the information that they need to make a more informed decision, so they feel empowered, right? So they know what's going on, they know what to expect, and so that gives them the ability to make better decisions. Whether they go one way or the other, they're going to be happier that they had the information to make a decision, versus if we just said, okay, submit the information, we'll get back to you, and then they wait and wait and wait and wait. Like, that's not going to create a good expectation. And I've got uh, I've got an actual story that I can share with you. So, for example, roof. So a couple years ago, I decided to put a steel roof onto my house and met with a roofing contractor who came, looked at the house, made some measurements, and said he would get back to me with a price. And like a day and a half later, he sent me an email and he said, "Here's the price," and blah 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 blah. And I said, "That's great." I said, "Like to do that. Let's go ahead and do it. When are you going to do it?" And I'd met him in April, I think. And he said, "Oh," he said, "I'm going to put you into the schedule, and we'll get to your house probably in a few weeks." In a few weeks, okay. So a few weeks went by, and I hadn't heard from him at all. So I called and left a voicemail. He didn't call me back, and then I sent him an email, and he replied back saying, "Yeah, he'd been busy, and he was still working towards it, and he hoped to get to my house in a few weeks." Again, in a few weeks. A few more weeks went by. Nothing happened. Okay. Um, and then I was like, I don't even know what's going on. Now, I hadn't given him a deposit, so I wasn't feeling that I was being scammed or anything. But I honestly thought that like he just was never coming. And then one day, early in the morning, a whole bunch of trucks pulled up in front of my house, and there were like 12 guys, and a trailer came in with roofing, and yep, they were there. They were there to do it. I had no forewarning that they were going to be there that day. As you can tell, I record videos and have meetings and stuff from my home office. And so a day of guys banging around above my head obviously wasn't good for me in my work environment, and I didn't have any warning to know that that was going to happen. And so the roof is awesome. The roof doesn't leak. The roof was installed professionally. The roof looks fantastic. Am I excited about my experience doing business with that roofer? No, I would categorize it as a terrible experience, right? Because I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know what the timelines were, and I didn't know what to expect, right? And so that's kind of the opposite of what we want to try and create. So we need to think about these processes, what we want to do, and then we have to train our employees to understand what the reasoning is behind the things that we're asking them to do. So I was on a call recently where there was an owner of a home pressure washing business where they go and they would wash houses, right? And so he's got crews of guys that go out and do the washing, and he's taught them how he wants them to wash the house. And so they make a booking, they go to the homeowner's home, they get all set up, they wash the house, and then they, are supposed to collect the payment. But the process he teaches his guys is that they're supposed to walk around the house with the homeowner and point out certain specific things. So they're supposed to point out the fact that the eaves have been washed, that the fascia has been washed in and around the gutters, that if there are any, they're supposed to be pointing out all these little intricate details of the cleaning because those details are what demonstrate value to the customer. Because anyone can like take their hose and spray the side of their house, right? But to be able to do all this very detailed work and get every little nook and cranny on the exterior of the house cleaned is what then makes the customer feel happy about the fact that they chose the professionals to come and do it. And so, of course, what's happening is that these guys are washing the house and they just go and say, "We're done here. You have to pay us." And they're not fulfilling the extra little part. And it's that extra little part that's going to make the homeowner feel like they got better value for the money that they're spending. And it's what's going to make them want to be more open to leaving a 5-star review if you ask them to, right? So, what could that business owner be doing? Well, I used to own a junk removal company, and we had something called the job sheet. And the job sheet was basically like the work order for the crew to go to someone's house and pick up junk from their house. But we had a step-by-step process of how we wanted it done, itemized on the sheet with little check boxes. And so as the crew did the different steps, they were supposed to check off these check boxes. And then that sheet would be torn in two, and the yellow copy would be left with the customer as the receipt. Now, I know NCR forms are a little bit historic right now, and everyone's using apps and things like that. But you can certainly create a workflow tool. That's what the NCR form was. It was a workflow tool that helped to make sure that the job was done in this certain order that I wanted it done. And one of the items on that was clean up and the sweep up or rake. So whether it was like on a garage floor that we took out the junk, we wanted to sweep that area. If it was outside on someone's lawn, they had a pile of stuff, we would rake that area. We wanted it to look really clean and we wanted it to be noticeable so that the homeowner was like, wow, these people really clean up after themselves. And so we put it on the list with a check, a little box that they had to check. And so what that did was it was a constant reminder of the workflow we wanted them to execute every time. And we trained the guys to let them know why it was so important because we wanted the homeowner to know that we took pride in our work and we wanted to leave the place looking better than it was when we first found it, right? That checkbox was something we could also verify. So randomly from time to time, what I would do is I would call homeowners from past jobs and I would just follow up. I would say, oh, I just wanted to call and see how things went. And I would ask them, did they sweep up or rake afterwards? Now, there was this one occasion when I spoke with a homeowner and they said, they didn't actually. They just threw everything in the truck and they left. I didn't see them sweep, and it's obvious that they didn't. And I went and looked at the job sheet and the sweeping box had been checked, right? And you know what happened, right? That the guys just are getting lazy. They're checking all the boxes at once or whatever. But I was then able to go to the driver and say, hey, you checked off this box, but the lady said you didn't do it. And he said, you know what? We were in a rush. The landfill was going to close. I had to leave the site because we had to drive there, et cetera, et cetera. And what I said to him was, look, the reason this is on the list, you know why it's on the list. The fact that you checked this box and you didn't do it means that you lied. You lied on the checklist. And so I made him go and clean it up on his own time. And he never did that mistake again. Now, I said to him, what would have been preferable is if he had left it unchecked and gotten in the truck and made it to the landfill and then maybe called me, I would have gone over and done the sweeping. Or if he had come back later after going to the landfill and swept it up, that would have been fine too. But to check the box while not having done it constituted a lie, and I wouldn't tolerate it. And those kinds of accountability tools are what you need to be able to actually have some kind of enforceable workflow management system with employees. And it shows everyone just how serious you are, that it's actually important. That's what the pressure washing guy was missing in his workflow is he was missing some kind of tool that would number one, remind people of what we had promised, remind them of why it was important, and then have an accountability tool to be able to make sure that he could go back and check. And if it wasn't done, that he knew who was supposed to have done it that dropped the ball. And that's how you do this. Okay. So I want to give you some examples here. Um, and then afterwards, when you have completed, these jobs, a lot of people are asking people to leave reviews, but you can also then send your own customer survey to people where you ask them for feedback on the product or the project, right? And look at those pieces of feedback because they will give you clues as to ways that your workflow journey can be enhanced to improve the customer experience. Because you want to ask people like, did you feel this way or did you feel that you always knew what was going on? Did you have an adequate expectation of how things were going to go? Do you feel that when you contacted us that we got back to you in a timely fashion? Those are the things you want to tap into how they feel about you because when you ask someone to leave you some stars, it's entirely based on feelings, right? How do they feel about their interaction with you? If they are annoyed with you or ambivalent, they might not even fill it in. If they're angry with you, they're going to go leave a 1 star, right? But they need to feel as though everything is fantastic and feel as though you treated them like they were important and feel as though that they knew what was going on all the time. That person is going to be your hero. They're going to be like a fan, a raving fan, and they're going to want to leave the 5 stars. So you need to review based on their feedback. So recently, I got some feedback in my own business about one of the reports that we do for business owners who want to determine a price to sell a business. And it was really good feedback and opened my eyes to something that we could very easily improve in our final report. So it had to do with explaining some of the things that the report relates to that were not quite clear. And you see, I've always been meeting with people and going over the report with them and discussing it. And in this one instance, the report was delivered and then that meeting was delayed. And so they read the report and the report had to kind of speak for itself, and which it often doesn't. Like often it's me delivering the report. And so it was really great feedback because I could see how there's changes we can make to that report to the standard boilerplate text that will make it so much better. And things like that is like it's a one-time tweak, right? Once that improvement's been made, then every other report we ever issue is going to have that improvement built in. And that's what you're looking for because this kind of feedback is going to allow you to iterate your process. And it's like every time you are using like a jack to like ratchet up one more notch each time. And if you can ratchet up consistently and keep improving the way that you're doing this stuff each and every time, and you don't backslide, then this is what creates long-term sustainable competitive advantage in any business, right? And it's why focusing on the workflow and the customer experience is so important. So every happy customer is another point of contact out there, another possible point of referral, helping to generate new customers for you. So I want to give another quick case study example. This is from a home builder, a custom home builder here in my hometown. And he was one of the first guys around to adopt computerized project management software. And this story is from like 15 years ago. So a lot of times when you're building a house, you've got different subtrades. So you got carpenters and foundation guys and plumbers and electricians and all those, flooring people, all that kind of thing. And they do not like to have to be there at the same time because then they're working over each other and getting in each other's way. So one of the things that this contractor did is he used this project management software because he wanted to have isolated days for each sub trade so that the plumbers can go there and work one day by themselves, and the electricians would go there another day and work by themselves. And he forced his subcontractors to basically use these app based systems where they would show up on the job site, do the work, and then they had to like go into the app to say, we have done this step. And that would then inform the system to send an email out to the next contractor saying, the other guys are done. You now can go to the house and do your part. Okay. So it was very good system for managing who was going to be at the house at any given time. Here's what he did though. He copied the homeowners, the people who had hired him to build the house, on every one of those emails. So every time the plumber got an email saying you can now go to the house, and then the plumber would then, execute that they had finished with the house, the homeowner would get those 2 emails. They would get an email saying the plumber can go, and then they would get an email saying the plumber's done. And then they would get an email saying the electrician can go, and then they would get an email another day later saying the electrician was done, right? And so he started to get incredible positive feedback from the homeowners saying, wow, you know, we've talked with other people that have had custom homes built, and they all just say that they never know what's going on. And when they call their contractor to ask what's going on, they never get a call back. But these homeowners were getting a constant flow of emails that they could actually see the project moving forward and who was doing what at every given point in time. And then later, what this contractor did is he installed on-site security cameras, right, mostly to protect equipment and materials. But he would give the homeowners access to that too, so that they could log in from wherever and take a look as things were progressing on their home. They could like see the email that the flooring guys were going to be there today, and they can go look through the camera. They could see the flooring van pulled up in front, and they're like, "Oh, that guy's working there today." And it made them feel like they were part of the whole process, and again, made them feel like there was value being delivered, that there was progress being made, that there was work being done. That's the kind of feeling you want to create in someone. So, what what do you do if you are completely lost and you have no idea how you're going to do this? You need to actually map out your processes and figure out how you want each thing to be done, and then decide if you're going to need some process or workflow tools to help this happen. I do have a program that is going to help you with this. If you really don't know, it's over at easysmallbizsystems.com. In that program, I teach you how to map out everything going on in a business, create an org chart with a view to future growth, isolate all of the different roles within the organization, and create lists of responsibilities and tasks for each one of those roles, but also to attach a standard of how things are being done and the reason why those things are done and the frequency of those tasks or responsibilities, so that you can actually create this playbook that anyone can use. It makes you far less dependent upon what I call superheroes in business. So there's probably someone out there who knows of a business where, they do the kind of stuff that I'm talking about here today. And there just so happens to be this fantastic superstar employee who's, the guy who's good with customers, right? And we've all run into this person. So this person understands what the customer is looking for, and they've adapted themselves to giving this great customer service, but it's all within their own selves. Like, we often talk about business owners, having all of the business systems within their own heads. There are employees in businesses as well who have developed superior methodologies of doing things that they keep within their own heads. And so, as a business owner in a business like that, you've got this person who's your superhero sales advisor or project coordinator or whatever, and they're really good with customers, again, because they've learned all these behaviors and they're setting expectations and they're talking with the customer and they're, doing all this stuff. But you haven't taken the positive things, the great aspects of that individual's efforts, and formalize them into a program that allows you to teach that to the next person or the second person or whatever. And what you end up with is an organization where you are reliant upon these individuals, and it constrains growth. It constrains growth or makes you susceptible to huge downside risk if that employee were to leave someday for some reason, right? And that's why formalization of these processes, procedures, business systems, et cetera, is so important. And if you are serious about it, head over to Easy Small Biz. That's Easy Small Biz, B-I-Z, systems.com. There's an introduction video there. This is a program that I teach a few times a year live, and it's available to you anytime over there. Anyway, um, thank you. I hope that I've given you some stuff to think about, because figuring out what works in the business and figuring out what doesn't, and being willing to iterate. So when you have those problem projects with customer complaints, for example, that you can sit down with the team afterwards and look at your process workflow and then talk about that particular project or customer and say, are we sure that we did all of these things, and where did the breakdown occur? Why did the customer end up being upset about, what happened? And now that we know that this is a possibility, that this kind of outcome could occur within the current framework that we have, how can we adjust our framework to be able to make sure that this particular thing doesn't happen again? Again, it's the constant iteration that is going to improve things over time. Anyway, thank you so much. If you've got some stories about this in your own business, or maybe as an employee when you were working in a business trying to get this stuff to work, please put it in the comments down below. We'd love to hear what you tried or what works for you. And like I said, if you want to work on it some more, head over to easysmallbizsystems.com. Check out the small business program. It's called Build a Business That People Will Want to Buy. Anyway, we'll see you next time. Cheers.
So, how can you learn more about buying, selling, financing, and managing small and medium sized businesses? Easy. Go over to my blog site, davidcbarnett.com, where you can learn more about me and how I work with my clients. You can learn more about my books and courses that I've prepared for you. You can find out how to subscribe to my email list, the YouTube playlists, and more. There's literally hundreds of hours of content there, all for free, and I'd love for you to be my guest. Special thanks go to Mark Willis at Lake Growth Financial, today's video sponsor. Mark helps people better manage their personal and business finances through the Bank on Yourself insurance strategy. This is something I've done personally and I've seen others use it successfully for years. Go to newbankingsolution.com to find all the interviews I've done with Mark and learn more about the advantages of these programs. While there, sign up for a free consultation to learn what this solution might look like for you.